Welcome back to another video. In this one we tackle privacy in the Bitcoin network, financial privacy in general, and why it matters. How Bitcoin fares in this compared to privacy coins like Monero and Zcash, and what the recent Bitcoin Taproot update changes. I was inspired to do this video by Edward Snowden's talk on privacy coins at Ethereal 2021. He mentioned a lot of things, some I agree with and some I don't agree with, but his conclusion was that Bitcoin needs better privacy. Now, why is financial privacy important? It's a complete misconception that it's something that only criminals should care about and that you've got nothing to hide. So, reason number one, without privacy, you lose fungibility. Due to the transparency of the blockchain, you can trace back if a Bitcoin has been used for criminal activities before, meaning state actors could contact you and try to seize them even when you did nothing criminal at all. This is not something that is currently happening, but it could potentially happen down the line. You lose the fungibility that one Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin, as newly mined ones would be more valuable than old coins that shifted through a lot of hands. You can also have companies that analyze the public blockchain and potentially link your pseudonymous Bitcoin addresses to your identity, giving them information about your financial situation that they shouldn't have. Not having privacy in what you buy also influences your economic decisions. If someone is constantly watching over you, there are products or services that you maybe won't purchase any longer. And last but not least, having an actor that collects financial information through, let's say, the anti-money laundering and know your customer guidelines can lead to a systemic risk, as no central actor is able to secure this information. Creating a centralized repository of individual owners of cryptocurrency puts them all at serious risk and creates the potential for an eventual unprecedented wave of violent crime. And this is not just a theoretical concept. Here's a tweet from Balaji from a few months ago. Treasury itself was hacked this month. An ongoing compromise where we still don't know the scope, a hack that follows the OPM hack, a hack that means innocent citizens are now exposed to home invasions and violent attacks. Treasury must not collect data it cannot secure. If a company gets hacked, you can choose to take your business elsewhere. You have a choice. But this regulation forces everyone to send reams of sensitive data to a single place we now know to be wildly insecure. Insecure centralization of data is the true systemic risk. Okay, so now we have established that privacy actually matters, and not just for criminals. It's a fundamental human right. Cash is private, and the Bitcoin white paper says that Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So why is Bitcoin not doubling down on privacy? As always, when designing a blockchain, there are trade-offs. Bitcoin optimizes transparency and auditability over privacy. For comparison, take the privacy coins Zcash and Monero for example. Zcash offers optional privacy through a zero-knowledge proof, which is not the most intuitive idea ever. Said simply, it lets me prove to you that I know something without revealing what exactly I know. In Monero, on the other hand, every transaction is private. It's not just an optionality. This of course all sounds great until you realize that there are trade-offs for it. These coins take privacy over auditability and transparency. They are opaque assets. Here's an excerpt from a great blog post from getmonero.org to show you that this is not just an ill-informed Bitcoin maximalist opinion. The use of an opaque asset introduces the risk of implementation flaws that may or may not be detectable because of the underlying mathematics of commitments and more complex proving systems. The use of mitigation approaches like transparent migrations can assert eventual available supply consistency, but this comes with the risk of losing honest funds too. Reviews and external audits of code and new mathematical constructions becomes especially important as a way to mitigate, but certainly not eliminate, these risks. The risk that opaque assets have are inflation bugs that stay undetected and get exploited by someone. And inflation bugs do exist. Bitcoin had 2 of them and so did privacy coins. These were of the detectable kind. At the end of the day, there are trade-offs inherent in supply audit design choices. You can choose to represent amounts in the clear like Bitcoin does. You can be sure that the supply is what you expect it to be or fork to ensure this in case of exploited inflation. But you sacrifice fungibility and could expose users to personal risk. Or you can choose to hide amounts like shielded Zcash or Monero do. You improve privacy and fungibility, but at the cost of offloading supply soundness guarantees to the correctness of proof and signature constructions. So if you want full privacy, go with one of those two. If you prefer auditability and transparency, go with Bitcoin. The problem for Bitcoin privacy is not that it's impossible to have, it's just really difficult to achieve for most people. In regards to Bitcoin, even if you do a coin join, a decentralized coin mixer, you need to be running a full node behind Tor, have never talked about Bitcoin in person or online, purchase your Bitcoin peer-to-peer with no KYC or AML, do perfect coin control, hopefully don't leave a fingerprint with your wallet UTXO selection, have never checked the price of Bitcoin on mobile or web via logged in, etc. So there definitely are ways to improve your privacy if you put some effort into it. CoinJoin is a trustless method for combining multiple Bitcoin payments from multiple spenders into a single transaction to make it more difficult for outside parties to determine which spender paid which recipient or recipients. Unlike many other privacy solutions, CoinJoin transactions do not require a modification to the Bitcoin protocol. CoinJoin users also profit from more people using it. If everyone uses CoinJoin, then the crowd is very large, and any particular CoinJoin user does not stick out so much. While it may have not been a #1 priority for Bitcoin developers to improve its privacy, and this is something that Snowden actively criticized, there are good things on the horizon. We are currently in the second signaling period of Taproot, Bitcoin's biggest software update through a soft fork since SegWit in 2017. Without Taproot, anyone can detect transactions that use those complex functionalities, which require the creation of multiple transactions. However, the Taproot upgrade will make it possible to cloak all the moving parts of a Bitcoin transaction that include these features. So even if the transactions adopt those features, they will look like a single transaction. This is a big win for Bitcoin privacy advocates. Next to Taproot, Schnorr signatures are coming to replace the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm to enable signature aggregation. One of the main advantages of Schnorr signatures is that they are able to take multiple keys inside a complex Bitcoin transaction and produce a single unique signature. This means that these signatures from the multiple parties involved in the transaction can be aggregated into a single Schnorr signature.
Is this an over-exaggeration that Schnorr Taproot might improve privacy and scaling, which is at the high level things that people mention? Is that just like a dramatic way of trying to frame what's fundamentally an incremental improvement?
Yes, but incremental is the word, right? We're not going to get an order of magnitude enhancement to either privacy or scaling, but we will get a considerable enhancement. But privacy and scaling are actually two sides of the same coin, because you get more transactional privacy by removing data from the ledger, so that there's less metadata for people to surveil and analyze. And that's also how you scale, by compressing and being really space efficient with transactions. And the more parsimonious you are, the more economically dense each byte that everyone has to retain on the ledger is. And so those are, very closely allied concepts.
So as you can see, it's not all bad news when it comes to Bitcoin privacy. One major concern is that privacy coins and improved privacy in the Bitcoin network gives governments more reason to harshly regulate or ban these networks. I'm siding with Andreas Antonopoulos in that regard. He believes that governments are unable to kill these privacy coins. They would like to, but they haven't, which is at least a bit of an indicator that they can't. Monero, for example, uses an ASIC-resistant proof-of-work algorithm that makes it possible to mine XMR with your personal computer. You don't even benefit from a lot more computing power, so everyone can essentially mine Monero. That is really hard to stop for governments, and the Bitcoin network on the other side has too much momentum and adoption already in general. You can't do much more besides restricting on and off ramps. Those who tried failed, at least so far. Andreas Antonopoulos also talks about how this is an evolutionary or maybe even anti-fragile system, so if there are governments that stamp on these privacy coins, there will only be new ones that disregard these attack vectors and just take different ways to implement privacy, and maybe even do more so and be more evasive than Monero and Zcash, for example. So these are my viewpoints on privacy in the Bitcoin network and competing privacy coins. Bitcoin is currently not the most private system, but I stay optimistic that current and future changes help to improve the privacy at least somewhat. If it will ever achieve complete privacy is doubtful for the reasons listed before. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video and also learned something from it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for further content, and then I see you next time.